Your tough day is paradise to me. This is why drug addicts make phenomenal entrepreneurs. When you look at your mom and dad and tell them you've got arrested, and when you call your mom and dad at 3 o'clock in the morning and your son is there listening to the answering machine. I told him, I said, be productive every day to the point that when you're not productive, it feels wrong. Things are really starting to turn around when you are having an awful day and then you don't get high. That is huge. Our skin needs to get thicker, our perspective needs to get greater, and our actions need to be nicer. And if you're currently going through some stuff right now, mental health, call me right now. Like, make my phone ring right now because you're struggling. There is no reason to think that the world is over. What is up, guys? Mike DeCecco back for another timeless talk. I hope everybody's having a good weekend, day, night, whatever you guys are doing. I hope it's blessed. You are smiling and you are enjoying life right now. If you could, please hit the like, subscribe, give me a rock bottom, a Goldberg spear, and a finishing move. Thank you guys very much again for tuning in. My name is Mike DeCecco again, the owner of Timeless Protection. Timeless is a company. We are a small group of insurance professionals that help guide veterans through the process of seeking out their coverages. It's not a fun world to shop for life insurance, car insurance. Problem is that when something terrible happens, who's the first person you need to call? It's usually your insurance person. So, like I've stated before in other videos, we are here to just make sure consumers, you're not overpaying for your products. We've had a great couple weeks here. We are growing and we are hiring. I think people are starting to see the mission we are on. It's great to see. It's humbling. I'm very grateful for it. Super happy to just put my feet on the ground every day. And I wanted to talk real quick today about rock bottom. What is rock bottom? Is rock bottom a thing? The cliche statement is you've got to hit rock bottom before you can make changes. That's not entirely true. I think that you're constantly making changes. I personally feel like I didn't have a bottom. I was never going to land on anything. You just had to stop the madness of what was going on and turn it around. Instead of smashing in and stopping, you just had to turn it around, essentially. You had to change your choices. You had to change your path. You had to change your scenery, your settings, people, places, things, phone numbers. These are all things that factor into the mental health, addiction, recovery, and entrepreneurship side of things. And how I have used my recovery to help build a business and help, just change my way of life, my lifestyle. A lot of resilience has to be built in. I think any drug addict who has gone through the mud has very thick skin at the end of the day. It takes a lot more, essentially, for somebody to get under my skin. My girlfriend likes to poke and prod, and I know she's listening right now, but that's a little bit different when there's love behind it. So at the end of the day, when you are in recovery, you have to implement things left and right, up and down, so that you don't ever find yourself knee-deep in active addiction again, killing yourself with whatever substance or addiction that you are ripping and running. I think the first thing that has to happen when you think you are at your rock bottom is that you have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge it, and even harder, you have to accept it. Accepting that you are a failure, accepting that you have upset your wife, kids, husband, mother, father, employer, whoever it may be. All that is fine and dandy, but you've got to look at you first. You have to accept the fact that this has happened. And it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult. And it's why people struggle. I used to play the blame game. It was always everybody else's fault but mine. When in reality, man, it's my fault. right? But it's taken years and years and years of failure and things like that to figure this out, right? Acknowledging the fact that you are at rock bottom allows you to stop and assess. You essentially have to make a game plan. One thing I always struggled with was I was always trying to do too many things. Like I had to set this up and this doctor and this place and that place and this sober house. And in reality, nothing's going to get done that way. The only way things are going to get done is if you focus on one task at a time and you just tackle it. I'm still terrible at that. To this day, I have 100 things going on right now and none of them are going to get finished, right? So it is a constant struggle, but guess what? I've acknowledged it. I've accepted it. So I understand it. So it doesn't fry my brain when I know it's happening. I know it's a flaw. It's a character defect, whatever you want to call it. I'm okay with it, right? I know who I am and I accept who I am. And I love who I am. So acknowledging, accepting would be step one. One main thing you've got to keep constant here is really focusing on the basics. Rock bottom is rock bottom. Rock bottom is you're broke, homeless, you don't have employment, you're shut off from your kids, your family, you don't have a vehicle, you've got debt, personal debt, credit card debt, you're racking it up. You might have some criminal issues, you might be boosting from Walmart to try to get high. These are all things that come with the territory of addiction. Figuring out the basics. Where am I sleeping tonight? Let's figure that out first. All right, well, we got that figured out. All right, what are we doing in the morning to better our situation? Can I catch a bus to go somewhere? Can I go talk to a family member? Is there any help that I can go get? I used to go to churches a lot. Like if I was walking around New London, I would just go into the churches and I would sit for an hour or two and maybe try to catch some sleep. And then I'd be off to the next, And at that point it was like, hey, someone texted me back. You can crash on their couch tonight. Cool. It's like, thank God. Like, you're in a rough spot when crashing on a couch is like heaven to you, right? So sticking to the basics. Don't try to do too much. We call them the blockers or the tacklers, right? Blockers and tacklers. There's nothing fancy. There's nothing extravagant about anything. It's just getting stuff done. And truthfully, I think that is the way we should go about most things. I always tell people in the world of life insurance, every person I talk to wants to shop for life insurance off of the biggest coverage amount for the lowest cost. Now think of this, like logistically, think about it. Why would an insurance company offer you a huge amount of coverage for a tiny little premium that they're going to get? Because they know they're not paying this huge amount, right? So 1% of term policies pays out. Look it up, fact check it all day long. 1% of term. Call it 3% even. That means 97 out of 100 term policies are not paying out. So if you are at home and you're watching this and you have a term policy, that policy was never issued to pay out. So then you've got the little tiny whole life policies, 10, 20, 30, 40 grand, the blockers and tacklers, the basic, the no bells and whistles, but they get the job done. They're gonna pay out 100 out of 100 times. It's all in how you look at things. We are greedy as a culture, especially Americans. We are just greedy. If you've got 200, I want 300. Well, in the world of life insurance, I need to leave a check to my family. So what policy is going to pay? Getting back to the rock bottom and the basics and blockers and tacklers. I had a close friend who was going through hell with me, but he had more resources. He came from a wealthier family, and he had been dealing with this for a long, long time. So he was set up a little bit different, and I relied on him a lot. 1 for meals, 2 for some clothes, and advice. And it may sound crazy, you're taking advice from another addict, but anybody who has more experience than you in something is going to be able to share something valuable with you. And I tell my team, like if there's a 20-year-old kid in our business and he is tripling what everybody else is doing, why wouldn't we go listen to that kid? He might not even have experience. He just knows something we don't, or he's saying something we're not, right? But you always have to listen to the resource. You always have to use the resource, utilize what you have, especially when you have nothing. You have to utilize everything that you have. So sticking to the basics, do you go spend a bunch of money on, things because you think it's going to make you feel better, yet you have no money? No, very difficult. Easier said than done. Do you get high because you're 30 days into sobriety and you tell yourself 1 is okay, I'll stop after 1, we'll be okay? No. 1 is too many, 1,000 is never enough. That is literature straight from the program, and that is very, very true. You've got to stick to the basics. You've got to prioritize small things, build a little bit of a foundation, and then work from there. Work from there, because you can try to get somewhere very, very quickly, but if the foundation is not there, whatever it is crumbling. When you're in addiction or an active addiction, and when your pitfalls kill you and can kill you, and any time that you relapse or use is a death sentence, every time you build something up to have it crumble is just another failure. It's just another thought that the family has, or here we go again, this, that, whatever. And what do? You go get high. You will know things are really starting to turn around when you are having an awful day. And I mean awful, awful day. And then you don't get high. That is huge. That is change. Everything else throughout the day, whatever. All right, fine. But if you don't get high, I don't care how your days are. I don't care if you're out in the cold. I don't care if you're jobless, broke. I don't care if you are literally left with nothing. If you don't get high and you just make okay choices, no matter where you are, what you're doing, things will change. Will they change immediately? No, unless you hit the lotto or some crazy scratch-off ticket. But even then, I have literally seen this where someone is knee-deep in addiction, does a scratch off, gets $5,000, $1,000, 500, whatever it is. Next time you dial their phone, it goes right to voicemail and they're dead. I have watched and seen that happen definitely 2 times. 2 times. So accepting, acknowledge, and then basics, small foundation. What is next? You have your foundation now. It is time to set very small goals. I am going to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning every day and try to back that to maybe 7 or 6. When I was in active addiction, I would sleep till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I've got a ton of stuff done. I've already talked to 20 veterans and I've already helped a bunch of team members. That didn't happen overnight. I'm still working on trying to get up at a certain time. That number is 5 o'clock. I want to be eyes wide open, day started, 5 a.m., let it rip. And some days I will be up and out at 5:30, good to go. And then some days I hit snooze and an hour goes by and I'm all pissed off at myself. And then every time I set my alarm at night for early, my girlfriend just laughs at me. She's like, babe, you're not going to get up. So that makes me want to do it. And I still don't. Things are difficult. It's very difficult to make changes in life. We get used to things. We get used to comfort. And this is why we make great entrepreneurs. This is why drug addicts make phenomenal entrepreneurs, because your tough day is paradise to me. I will bet anything that most people's worst day is just okay to me. I wish there was a way to take somebody in a time machine or a portal or something and drop them into hard times. Because when you're used to being given everything, when you have the silver spoon, when you don't have to ever worry about food, when you don't ever have to worry about this, that, whatever, what are your survival skills going to be like? They're probably not too good. I know mine weren't good in the beginning. I was scared crapless to go into my first detox or rehab or sober house, and then it just became normal to me, which I never thought would ever happen. Putting that tool on your tool belt where you're willing and able to assess the situation that you are in and then adapt to it, you start setting goals, right? You've got to start setting little tiny goals like getting up in the morning, like I just mentioned, or I'm going to go put 5 job applications in this week. I'm going to make a conscious effort to reach out to my kids. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to exercise. Things that have nothing to do with getting high and everything to do with finding the you were before you went into active addiction. Do things you like. Set goals, accomplish those goals, and reward yourself with whatever, a little surprise, this, that, whatever. You know, if you're going to splurge on something financially when you're in active addiction and you're going to spend an extra $10 or $20 or whatever, like get your favorite ice cream. Those little tiny delicacies, those little tiny things you don't get when you're out on the streets and you're in the active addiction mindset. Every last penny of everything you have is going to a fix. It's not going to food. It's not going to gas. It's not going to bills. It's not going to anything except for the drug. And this is why you see people get arrested and you get, all this stuff, because addict behavior brings you down a path of crime. If you don't have the money to support your habit and all your enablers have cut you off, which, by the way, that is generally someone telling you they love you. You're going to hate them at the very point in time, but you'll thank them later on in life that they cut you off and that they're not enabling you anymore. Setting these goals and accomplishing these goals does something to you mentally. I had a conversation with my son not too long ago because he was struggling with entrepreneurship and he's very young, and being an entrepreneur is very difficult, but it is the most rewarding thing ever when you can have a day where you do right by people and you literally pay every bill that you have. If you have $5,000 worth of monthly bills and you have a hell of a day and everything lines up, you've got the rest of the month to work and your bills are paid. That is great. That is great. But it's difficult. If that was available to everybody, everybody would do it, right? This job is difficult. So my son went and worked at a golf course and he loves golf. Golf is something that he is taken to and he's putting time and effort and he's actually seeing growth for once. Right? I'm not talking about like, hey, I got all the Fortnite skins and I went, 30-0 in Call of Duty. I'm talking about actual time, effort, energy spent into getting good at something. I told him, I said, be productive every day to the point that when you're not productive, it feels wrong. And that is a great spot to be. And he went on vacation a week or two ago and he texted me. And he was like, Dad, you told me something like 3 or 4 months ago about being productive to the point where if I'm not working, it feels wrong. That is actually a very good place to be mentally. I think that's me personally, because it means you're checking goals off. It means you're accomplishing things. One of my best friends and somebody that I look up to, Mr. Matt Chilleri, he's just so damn sharp when it comes to business and entrepreneurship and self-health and health, wealth, whatever you want to call it. And he's always just told me, like, listen, man, you got to have short-term and long-term goals, right? You could have a goal for the next hour. You could have a goal for the next minute. I could set a goal right now that I need to talk for 20 more minutes to get the content done. The second I'm done with that goal, I cross it off. Well, watching yourself, and you have to write them out. You need them written onto something, because when you cross them out, it does something. It gives you, you're like, wow, I did something. I accomplished something. Holy cow, I want to do it again. It feels good. So goals are absolutely crucial to the turnaround from rock bottom to epic comeback. I am surrounded by whiteboards. You can't see this one because it's on the other side of the wall, but I've always had whiteboards or my tablet with the program Note Shelf and habit tracker, goal tracker, mood tracker, daily schedule, yearly goals, weekly goals, every quarter. You've got to watch your progress if you want to keep progressing. Because if you're just doing it and it doesn't even faze you, you might be the unicorn. And there are those people out there. There are just those people that are that good. They just do it naturally, really. That's a good place to be, all right? I think that would be a goal for everybody, is to just do all that stuff naturally. But, again, accepting and acknowledging, right? Focusing on your basics, crushing your goals, starting with very small goals, move them to bigger goals. I had a huge goal last year, which was to hit Hall of Fame for our IMO. If you hit Hall of Fame for our IMO, if you break it down in our industry, statistically, like you're a quarterback in the NFL, it's a very small percentage who get the honor to hit a certain number in our industry. And rolling into 2023, I had a vision finally, and I had a good little counterpart with me for a team member, and brought on another team member midsummer. I basically mathematically broke it down every month. What did I need to do? How much did I have to spend to hit that amount, and profit to hit that amount? And I nailed it. And we got the red jacket, the big dinner. I think we're going to do it again this year, which super blessed, grateful, humble. Thank you so much. Goals. It's all from goals. This year's journey to the red jacket is completely different from last year's. I was by myself last year, 2 employees rumbling. This year, we've got business partners, we've got 6, 7 employees, we've got 10, 12, 15 agents, and that's really nothing. We're trying to grow very, very big, but it's such a different path. When you have 6, 7, 8, 9 people who rely on the leader and the system, and that's how they pay their bills. That's how they put food on the table. That's how they pay medical. This is how they survive. It's a different pressure than just trying to hit a certain number. I'm trying to hit that certain number and tack all that stuff on. So there are times where my internal demon is trying to kick me in the nuts, like for real. Whom I've surrounded myself with, it just doesn't let me ponder the thought much longer, if I do even. So the next step after figuring out your goals would be to seek support. How do you do that? It's tough because not too many people want to support you when you've hit rock bottom. Luckily for me, my family never gave up on me, which you guys have seen in another video. My family, I don't even know. There's no word I can use to describe my family except for wonderful. They're the best people ever. People will give you support. Oh, hey man, you can do it. You're good. You look okay, blah, blah, blah. But sustaining things in life, consistency in life, this is where people struggle. This is what is hard in life, you could be great at something for a day, a month, even a year, but how do you sustain it? How do you implement stability and stay great? And I talked to my therapist today about this. The relationship that I am in now it's set me free. So I'm a very, 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 very loyal person when it comes to family, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to business. I take an absurd amount of pride in being a loyal person. And I think with men right now, especially, we're all looked at as dogs. Every single person in my life that I've ever dated or whatever, they would say that I was loyal. And I think that is key. And my beautiful, lovely girlfriend is the same. What does that do? How does that affect the support? Well, mentally, if I can walk around every day, and this is just me, everybody's different, but if I can walk around every day knowing that I don't have to worry about a text, a DM, an employee, I worry about none of that with my woman. And it is a sense of calm. It is a sense of happiness. Sometimes I still don't believe it's real. I don't deserve things like this. I haven't deserved things like this. It's just different. Now, in the past, I've had some of the worst toxic relationships you've ever been in. How can someone be successful or seek support or grow or change if you're constantly in a state of hate, constantly in a state of defense. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Like, we know this, right? Like, we know this. It just doesn't work. And my support system, especially my lovely bride-to-be one day, it allows me to succeed. She allows me to succeed. I, at the end of the day, the end-all be-all of my success, but everything around me plays into that end-all be-all. Therapy, support, friendships, NA, any type of group that has like-minded people. You want like-minded people around you. If you can surround yourself with like-minded people, is a ridiculously powerful tool. Why? Well, you can go into a room and sit with 50 people that you've never met in your entire life and you may never see again. Everyone in there wants to get clean. Everyone in there wants the other person next to them or in the room to get clean. And most everyone in there has a story that is the same or way worse than your own, which puts things into what word? Perspective. It puts things into perspective. It shows you that it could always be worse. My God, I lost my car. I lost my keys, my license, my job. Okay, this person's kid has cancer and her brother just overdosed. True story. Like, it could always be worse. It really could. So these type of support systems help you, and they give you perspective, and they give you hope. I would say that rock bottom to a lot of people is like the most important thing to them. Not that all of this stuff is happening to you and the world is against you and no one wants to help you. It is on you. Like, shut up, look in the mirror and deal with it. Deal with it. If you've got children, think of your children. If you've got family, think of your family. If you've got nothing, which happens, and it's terrible to see a soul have no family, no motivation, we've all seen that person, and it's sad and it sucks. I wish we could do something for every single person that's hurting out here in the world right now. And we can't. And that's why I always say in these videos, like, just be nice. Be nice to people. I always told my sons this when they would go to school and you see people picking on the kids who don't have the coolest clothes. They don't have, their hair cut nice and fresh and their sneakers are crusty and old. How the hell do we know that kid was fed that morning? How do we know that they didn't sleep on the floor with a little blanket? We don't know. So shame on you for picking on a person. The person picking on them has the problem. They're the weak-minded person. They're the weak link, essentially, because that kid who slept on the floor and maybe didn't eat breakfast is building a level of resilience that may serve him or her a massive purpose in the future. There is something to be said for hard times and what it does to a person. I wish there was perspective pills you could give people to where they're like, holy cow, I never knew things could be like that. Or holy cow, I didn't know life was like this. It all goes back to that little portal. Let's drop some super lazy, entitled snowflake into the middle of the woods with a family of 4. It's raining and you gotta survive, you gotta start a fire, you gotta do all this type of stuff. Dude, that kid is gonna fold in no time. And unfortunately, it's like the whole freaking generation that's growing up right now, so we're screwed. When my girl and I moved in together we just talked about this yesterday or the day before, work slowed and we decided to move in together and look for a place. And then it was trips back and forth, Connecticut, Mass, Connecticut, Mass, Connecticut, Mass. And then arrangements with children changed and we were just insanely busy. Her and I do not argue at all. We've been together for over a year now and I think we've had 4 arguments and 2 of them were just whatever. We, together as a couple, went through madness together and we're just happier now. We're happier because we got through all that stuff. We're stronger as a couple. We're stronger as a unit. We're stronger as individuals. And it shows us that we can make it through certain situations. No different than a drug addict making it through some without getting high. It builds character. It builds resilience. It builds, your defense system, essentially, when it comes to all hell breaking loose. So the last two, real quick, would be focus on the present. Do not look into the past. Looking into the past does nothing. If you need to reference something from the past, or if you need to learn from a past mistake, that is all fine and dandy. But dwelling and harping and remembering and playing the tapes over and over again about the old you, it's not going to do anything for you. You want to be in the present. We cannot change anything. I can't change what I've said on this video, but I can change what I'm about to say in this video, right? We take things for granted that way, and I think a lot of people in relationships will call out their partner's past. I was terrible at this. I was actually bad at this in the beginning of my current relationship, where I would point things out and it was just stupid to point it out. Why? Focus on how to fix it, right? I actually just texted this to somebody. I've been tired. I'm beat, grinding. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else, by the way. Like, I love it all, but it's tiring. Like, owning a business is tiring sometimes, especially when you're in growth mode and you keep getting kicked in the nuts. I've been in problem-solving mode for the last 4 months. I want to be able to wake up one day and talk to my team and not have to figure out a problem. But why would I ever take on the leadership role of a team if I didn't want to take on the problems? That's my damn job, is to take on the problems, shield them from my team, and keep it moving. So problem solving is a huge part of turning around your rock bottom. You've got to stop and assess the situation. You've also got to get a little lucky. I think that plays a little bit into it. Like, God is going to sprinkle things in front of you, and these are all tests. Everything is a test. Everything is a negotiation, and everything is a test. That may sound really stupid to some people, but you have to negotiate with yourself to get out of bed every day. I had to negotiate with myself to do this content. I set goals. Sometimes I don't feel like doing them, but guess what? It's going to feel pretty damn good when I, hit end on this and I've got content. We've got to problem solve. We've got to respond to the test in the right way. There is a way to fail. There is a way to succeed. And if you're doing it the right way and you're making those right choices and you're being a good person, the karma bank is huge to me. You've heard me say this a million times. If I see a vet and they're buying groceries, I will grab those groceries. I will, because I just want to put good energy out there. The second I say something about bad energy or, something my girl doesn't like, she's like, why'd you say that? Why did you just put that out in the universe, bro? And she's right. She's right. You don't want to put that in the universe. You want to be able to be tested and not crack under the pressure. I'm telling you, man, this has been running in my head ever since I said it. We need to be able to put certain people into certain places. It's like the Beyond Scared Straight show. It should be mandatory for every child who goes to school to go to a jail. There should be a field trip to a jail for every kid. Why go to Washington? What the hell is seeing the White House going to do for the kid? Ooh, the White House. Politics. Run them through a maximum security prison real quick. What would build more character and have an effect on the child more? Walking them through somewhere where you've got guards and bars and criminals. Dude, I wish that happened to me. I think I'm going to bring my 14-year-old to jail tomorrow. He freaked out when he sat in the back of a cop car one time. But we need to see the underbelly, because if you're unprepared and you land in the underbelly, you're screwed. You're going to get chewed up and spit out. Your head could go a million different ways there. That could mean a ton of terrible things happen to you. Use your imagination. We've got to get tougher. We've got to get tougher, and we've got to get nicer at the same time. And that probably makes zero sense. But our skin needs to get thicker, our perspective needs to get greater, and our actions need to be nicer. I talk to my veterans every day, all day, and they tell me about these ads that they click on, and hey, you can get $100,000 worth of life insurance for $10 a month. And, I don't put any numbers in any of my ads because I don't know what the damn numbers are going to be. So why the hell would I tease you with them just so that I can't give them to you? It makes zero business sense to me, but When I was 20, I was further along than my 20-year-old. I was about to have a child. My 20-year-old right now is not ready to have a child. Not that he couldn't handle it. He could. I lived on my own. I paid all my bills. I had 2 jobs. Like, I took care of my stuff. The last thing you need to do if you've hit rock bottom is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. And like, I don't think I've ever forgiven myself. I have, like, on paper, I've written it out. But as I'm saying this right now, like, I'm forgiving myself for all of the that I put myself through. It was rough, man. It was rough. When you look at your mom and dad and tell them that you relapse after you have, like, clean time, when you look at your mom and dad and tell them you've got arrested, and when you call your mom and dad at 3 o'clock in the morning and your son is there listening to the answering machine and you're faced from a jail cell, blaming the cops for ruining your life, it's hard to forgive yourself. Maybe that's the next goal that I write up on my board daily, is to forgive myself every day for what I did to myself, for what I did to my children and my family, because I'm going to make it up to everybody, including myself. And I am making it up to everybody, including myself. But yeah, it's a crazy thing. When things are good in life, you're like, forgive myself for what? Like, I don't need to forgive myself. Why would I forgive myself? Everything is awesome. Your actions have to be so bad that you have to forgive yourself. That's a crazy thought. At the end of the day, you've got to forgive yourself to move on. And I don't know if I've fully done it yet. And I don't know if I've fully moved on. You know, this is a constant struggle, and I try to do what I can. You know, we're going to start selling a ton of these, and every bit of the proceeds we're going to donate to, I've got to pick the spot, but I know the spot, and we're going to give people hope that want to live and not die. To get to the point in life where you need to forgive yourself, you probably went through some. And if you're currently going through some stuff right now, mental health, addiction, whatever it may be, stop what you're doing right now. Call me. Somebody call me right now. Like, make my phone ring right now, that because you're struggling. And I'll answer and I will talk to you. Text me, whatever. But go get help. There's no reason to cry yourself to sleep. There is no reason to think that the world is over. There is no reason to hate yourself. So forgive yourself. If you're struggling, go get help. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Timeless Talk. Michael DeCecco. F. Fentanyl. Have a good one, guys.